autopsy of Irina Zarutska's murder. The surveillance footage is silent, but it screams a horrific story. A young woman is sitting on a chair. A man is standing near her. No words are exchanged. There is no conflict. And then, a sudden, brutal, and inexplicable act of violence. The first question everyone asked was, why? But the answer to this question is not summed up in these few horrifying seconds. The answer is hidden in a case file with 14 arrests, at least 14 arrests, in the fruitless cries of a mother to have her son hospitalized. And in a story that began thousands of miles away in a war-torn country. This video is the autopsy of a tragedy in which there is one killer, but many culprits. To solve this mystery, we must first get to know both sides of this tragedy. The victim, Irina Zarutska. Irina's file is the story of an escape for life. A talented artist from Kiev, the war forced her to seek refuge in America. The violence of her life shows hope and effort. She quickly learned English, worked at pizzeria, and dreamed of becoming a veterinary assistant. She had survived and all won war to build a new life. But her fate was sealed on an ordinary subway ride, a place she thought she was safe. Second, the accused. The Carlos Brown Jr.
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material used in my body to stab the lady.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they gotta investigate the material my body is exposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they gotta investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine, she's from Russia, and they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
Hey, it ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the album, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
The Carlos Brown's file is a report of a predictable tragedy. His records are like a deafening alarm bell. At least 14 arrests, a history of armed robbery, and a definitive diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. He had told the police that a government chip controlled his actions. His family tried to have him hospitalized multiple times, but each time the system failed them. The key question is this: how was a man with such a dangerous record freely roaming the streets? Analyzing the crime scene, decoding the killer's mind. The surveillance footage shows no clear motive, so find the answer to why. we must delve into Brown's disturbed mind. This attack was not a choice, but the result of a psychological breakdown. The evidence of this breakdown lies in two key factors: persecurity delusions. Brown believed Irina was reading his mind. In his view, this was a real threat. To him, Reena was not an innocent stranger, but an intruder in his troubled mind. Delusions of control. He believed an external force was compelling him to act. This belief had taken away his sense of agency. In his sister's words, someone who hears voices in his head will eventually break. And that night he broke. His calmness after the attack is the final piece of his psychological puzzle. He didn't flee because he didn't consider himself responsible. In his view, he had only carried out an order. This evidence shows that we are not dealing with an ordinary crime, but with the consequence of a malfunctioning brain. A malfunctioning brain. That is the easy answer, but it is not a real answer, because the real question isn't just what was wrong with his mind. The real question is, how does a brain that is so clearly broken, so dangerously malfunctioning, end up on a public train armed and free to kill? How does a man get arrested 14 times and still walk the street? How do a mother's desperate pleas for help get ignored by the every systems designed to listen? And what are the cracks in our society so deep and so wide that a young woman feeling a war zone for safety can fall right through them? Irina Zarutska's story must not be lost among the endless headlines. Every view keeps her memory alive and exposes the systemic failure that led to this tragedy. Supporting this video is the most powerful way to break the silence. Next time, we don't just look at the killer, we put the entire system on trial.